Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 51 of the Drop It podcast. This podcast is tailor-made for those of you with weight to lose, those of you that are losing weight now, and those of you that are bathing in the success of your weight loss accomplishment. If it's your first time on the show, welcome. If you've ever lost weight before and then gained the weight back, this show is literally made for you, and you're going to find so much of my story relatable, and so much of these tips, so much of this advice is going to help you build the mindset you need and the relationship with food you need to lose weight and to actually keep the weight off. So if it really is your first time on the show, you've got about 50 episodes to go back and binge, and that's going to help you stop binging bags of Doritos and pints of Ben and Jerry's. Just binge the podcast instead. Also, shoot me a note on Instagram and introduce yourself. I love talking to new followers and, of course, old legacy followers of the Drop It podcast as well. So, welcome. Episode 51 is dedicated to my client, Paul. I've been working with Paul for just 7 weeks, and here's Paul's week 7 update. The weight loss has been steady, an 11-pound drop since I started. I'm very happy with the momentum I've experienced, and the possibility of real change has finally settled in and seems reachable. Imagine saying that, the possibility of real change. He ends it with saying, thanks to you and this community for all of the support. I love the real change piece, Paul. I'm so dedicating this episode to you because so often in my own story and in everybody's story that's listening to this podcast that has ever lost weight before and then realized that it wasn't sustainable and then just gained the weight back. There was never really in those journeys, there was never really a moment of knowing that real change was here. It was always just a feeling of losing weight feels like progress and the progress feels so good. But there's not really that feeling of like, oh, I can do this forever. The real change is here. So I love that you're experiencing that, Paul, and recognizing that what we're doing here with the Common Sense system on the Common Sense diet and in the Drop It community is actually rewiring your brain to something that is entirely sustainable in a relationship with food that is completely non-obsessive and non-restrictive. The reason why this works, the reason why me, having been on this diet for 6 years, and also my clients, some of which I've just started working with, some I've been working with for a very long time, are having a lot less food noise and feeling a lot better about their journey and feeling like they're actually keeping the weight off this time because they are. So if you'd like to join them and you'd like to join me, you can click the link in the description of this podcast episode. It's going to prompt you to fill out a 3 to 4 minute application. And after you fill that application out, it will take you straight to my calendar to book a call with me directly. Not with one of my employees or a member of my team, with me directly. So if you want to talk with me directly about what it is specifically, step by step, that I did to lose the 110 pounds and keep it off for 6 years, and also what I'm now doing with my clients based on all of those years of losing weight, gaining it, and then losing it and keeping it off, go ahead and fill it out, book the call, and we'll walk you right through it. If it makes sense for us to do it together, we can do that. And if it doesn't, then I'll do my best to point you in the direction of something that will. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. The topic of today's podcast episode is the most underrated weight loss hack of all time. If you're not driving, I recommend sitting down, pulling out a pen and a paper or the notepad on your phone. You're going to want to take some notes during this episode. The knowledge that I'm dropping here is the knowledge that changed my life. And I learned all these things the hard way through trial and error and through extreme mindfulness, through taking notes, documenting, logging my own journey. And I'm going to simplify it for y'all in the next 15 to 20 minutes so that you don't have to go through the years of trying to figure it out like I did. So here it is. The most underrated weight loss hack of all time is having a life mission. So take 10 seconds and think about this. What is your life mission? Now, 10 seconds is up. If it's not really clear to you what your life mission is, you will never keep the weight off. It doesn't matter what fucking diet you do. It doesn't matter if you're on the common sense diet, even though the common sense diet is by far the most sustainable diet ever because it doesn't force you to cut out food and live in restriction. I've been on this diet for 6 years with no food noise and very, very minimal cravings and now complete control over food. But even taking the common sense diet, if you're not combining it with working on your mindset, it's just not going to work. Because the reality of actually keeping the weight off, right? The difference between weight loss and sustainable weight loss is that sustainable weight loss requires you to change the way that you think about your own life and who you are as a person. And the way to do that is to develop a life mission. So, something I'm going to be doing more of in this podcast is speaking more about myself and like what's alive for me now and how specifically I got here in my own experience. So I hope as it becomes a little more relatable for you guys through me telling my own story versus just giving you lots of tips and tricks and advice. But my life mission, here's an example, right? I have 2 life missions, but my first life mission is what I call my family life mission. So keeping in mind that I'm single with no children, my family life mission is to break the lineage of generational divorce, generational addiction, and generational poverty. So that's 3 different things, right? When I think about generational divorce, my parents were divorced, my parents on my mom's side were divorced, my parents on my dad's side were divorced. That's as far back as I can go on the family tree, but I imagine that generations back were pretty unhealthy relationships just based on, what I saw with my parents and with my grandparents. So when I look at my life mission, a major part of that is I've committed myself to being the person that ends that. That dies with me. There's no more divorce happening. And the reason why divorce isn't going to happen isn't because I'm going to force someone to stay married to me. It's because I'm going to become the best man I can possibly be to put myself in, or part of me, I am becoming the best man that I can be. And I'm living as the best man I can right now, today, while I'm filming this podcast, not putting it out into the future. You see how I'm coaching myself even through these moments, right? This is what weight loss is. I just said something that was the same as I'm going to lose weight. No, we are losing weight right now. You see how I caught myself? I am going to be the man. I am the man right now in this moment. The man would film this podcast. What would the man do in this moment? He would record this podcast so that he can help fulfill a different part of his mission. So I'm living as him currently, pushing him out into the world instead of pulling him out into myself. He is already inside of me right now. And by living as this man over a period of time, I am putting myself in position to have much healthier relationships and healthier relationship dynamics that then provide a healthier household for children. And in doing so, I cure generational divorce and I decrease the probability of my children entering negative lifelong or long-term relationships and them having divorces, because they will see me and my future wife in a healthy relationship and subconsciously model what they look for in partners based on what they see in me and my wife's relationship. So that's how I'm curing generational divorce today in my family. Generational addiction. I come from a family that has issues with food, right? I come from other relatives in my family have passed away from addictions related to drugs or related to alcohol or even related to cigarettes. So for me, that presented in me as obesity. And I used to say I was a food addict. I think food addiction is kind of doesn't even make sense to believe in. Like, do you even benefit from believing in your own food addiction? Because the only path through food addiction is to live life as if you don't have food addiction. So I don't actually think that food addiction is real because you don't benefit in believing in it being real. The only path forward is to recognize that it isn't real and that the reason why you're addicted, quote unquote, to food is because you're coping from something else in life. So when you address the life issue, you realize you never actually had the level of food problem that you once thought. But that all being said, for me, addiction presented in the form of playing a lot of video games as a kid. It presented in the form of eating a lot of bullshit food to hide from my problems and the regret and the anxiety that I felt in life. It presented in drinking a lot of alcohol, presented in being addicted to dating and women when I was in my younger 20s. And now I'm here to conquer generational addiction by me having the knowledge of these things that I've been addicted to and the level of awareness to practice working through them over time to the point where I'm no longer a slave to my own addictions. I now decrease the probability of my children having addictive issues. Doesn't mean that they won't ever be addicted to anything, but the probability of my children having a life-altering addiction is substantially less. Just is, right? What you don't cure in yourself does get passed down. When you cure something in yourself, you are literally changing your own DNA. And you're changing the way that you move, you're changing the aura, the vibe, the energy that comes off you, you're changing the way that other people respond to you. You can't even measure that impact, right? So in me doing this work on myself, I'm changing the lives of everyone around me. And I'm changing the way that I show up on this podcast, which is a part of my mission as well that we'll get to in a second. The reason why I'm walking you through my life mission is so you can feel the level of commitment that I have to my own life that has resulted in me losing weight and keeping it off. And we'll get back to that in 1 second. But we went through generational divorce, generational addiction, and generational poverty. I grew up in a single mom household that was low income, and my mom was a hustler. She was buying and selling shit on Craigslist, buying and selling whatever, right? Breeding dogs. It's like yes, we always had the things that we wanted, but it's important for me to be able to provide real abundance to my future family, right? And the way that I'm doing that is by living out my life mission. So how am I going to conquer generational financial issues? By making sure that I am in a financial situation to live the lifestyle that I want and to take care of everyone around me and to be able to give everyone around me anything that they really want, right? So those three things, that's my family mission: conquering generational poverty, addiction, and divorce. Now, when you take when I was losing weight, right? I lost 75 pounds in 6 months in 2019, and then lost another 40 or so pounds in the months following that, for 110 total in 2019 to 2020. And this was after a whole lifetime of losing weight and gaining it back every single year from 2013 to 2019. The difference in 2019 and 2020 wasn't just that I was on the common sense diet, working on my relationship with food, and that, took some time too, but it was really clear why I was on this planet. And the idea of eating a bunch of bullshit, smoking weed and eating some Doritos, or getting McDonald's on the way home, but it's just a double cheeseburger, and a double cheeseburger only has 600 calories with the ranch, and you'll get a Diet Coke. It's like, yeah, but common sense, this isn't actually helping you fulfill your life mission. It's making you feel like shit. Forget the calories for a second, right? When your life mission is so fucking clear to you, it becomes stronger than your desire to not take care of yourself. Right? So when I'm driving home from work and there's McDonald's, and God, man, I don't know. Like, it's going to take me 15 minutes to create one of my go-to meals at home. And McDonald's, the drive-thru, and eating it will only take 6 minutes. And, I think I'd just rather do that. I would go to, yeah, but why am I on this planet? Why did my soul chose to come to this planet to conquer generational addiction, divorce, and poverty? Connecting with that is 1 billion times stronger than my desire to eat this McDonald's cheeseburger, even though it's not very high calorie. I know it makes me feel like shit, makes me feel worse about myself, makes me sleep worse, more tired. I'm more likely to make unhealthy decisions in the following hours and the following days because it all compounds negatively, right? Doesn't mean you can't ever eat McDonald's, but why are you eating McDonald's? What is the reason? Is it because you're bored, lazy, tired? Or is it because McDonald's is the only option? Or because you're celebrating a birthday at McDonald's, right? Those aren't the same situations. McDonald's can be poison or it can be medicine depending on why you're eating the food. Is it poison or medicine to your mind? It depends on the situation, right? So I created that mission for myself, and I've lived with that life mission for a long time. That life mission is really dependent on me having a woman, right? And me being in partnership and, me being with someone and having that life mission as a focus, as like the focus for myself. What it's done for me over the previous years is I've put a lot of pressure on relationships with my partners, with women, to try to figure it out really quick. So like I'd be, a few months into dating someone and would be like, okay, well, like, is this going to be the woman that's going to help me conquer generational addiction, divorce, and poverty? And it just kind of put this pressure on things where I would sometimes psych myself out of relationships or try to sometimes even push things along way too fast. Pardon me. And the reason why was because that was my number one priority, was my family mission, right? My life mission was my family mission. And what I found was I was in a really intense relationship December, January of last year, about a year ago, that lasted about 6 months. And what I found in leaving that relationship was that I really benefit from having a life mission that is separate from my family mission. So what I walked you through is actually my family mission. And I built myself a life mission as well that I had kind of subconsciously been living already. And here's the reason why, right? So from a man's perspective, keeping in mind that about 2/3 of you listening to this are women at ages 40 to 60, but you'll still find this interesting. From a man's perspective, your family being your number one priority probably doesn't make sense if you have any level of traditional dynamic to your relationship or want to maintain any healthy masculine feminine polarity in your household. And I go back to this visual. God, I learned this the hard way so often, and I'm very glad to be learning this at a fairly young age. It's this idea of imagine a man leaving to go fight a war, right? And he's got 2 kids. He's got a 6-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl at home. And he's got his wife. She's 32. The guy's 34. And he's going to pack up for war. They're going to ship him out. They don't know where they're sending him or how long he's going to be gone. Maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe longer. Maybe he won't even live. And he goes to kiss his wife goodbye, and the kids are all crying, and, they go over to the neighbors or whatever, and the wife says, "Tell me everything's going to be okay, honey. Tell me you'll be okay." And he says, "Of course I'll be okay, baby. I'll write you every day." And she says, just how long will you be gone? He says, "I don't know. I don't want to lie to you. I don't know how long I'll be gone." She says, "Well, just don't leave. Just don't leave. Just stay." Imagine if he said, "Okay, baby, I'll stay. What's for dinner?" That's the end of that fucking relationship. She would never have the respect for that man. And that's just the reality. That's the reality of him putting his life mission over his family mission. It's not that he doesn't care about his family. It's that his number one mission is not his family, but he actually serves his family by prioritizing a mission that is not directly connected to his family, right? So I learned that the hard way. And what I did was I created a life mission for myself. And my life mission is to help people wake up through weight loss. And what that means is to help people come to terms with who they are, to help you come to terms with who you are as a person through addressing not just the reasons that led to your obesity in the first place, but also your relationship with food, because it's directly indicative and tied to your relationship with yourself. That's why I say that weight loss is self-improvement. All the lessons that you're looking for in life are in the journey of losing weight and keeping the weight off, the sustainability piece. So that's what I've committed my life to, and I started vocalizing that about 6 months ago. And when I started really vocalizing that and speaking it every day, the way that I walked started being a little different. The way that women perceived me changed, because it was really clear to women that I'm a man on a fucking mission, and the mission doesn't have anything to do with them anymore. Before, the mission required a woman, right? I can't have a family without a woman. But now the mission has nothing to do with partnership or being in a relationship. It's a mission. It's totally independent. And by focusing on my life mission, the relationships that I've had with women in my life since then are a billion times better. They're a billion times better. And I'm so committed to my life mission that if the only way for me to fulfill my life mission of helping people wake up through weight loss and come to terms with who they are as a person, to feel better in their own bodies, helping people get rid of food noise so they can stop thinking about weight loss and I should be losing weight and what am I going to eat and how many calories, because when you get rid of that mental space, you create more mental space to think about the things that you actually came to this planet to do. That's what I'm here to do. And if the only way for me to fulfill that mission was to never even look at a woman ever again, I would do it. If it meant that I could never even speak to another woman ever again, besides those of you that listen to this podcast and those of you that are my clients that are listening to this, that's of course different. But relationally, I would sacrifice that forever. As much as my family mission is important to me, my life mission is a billion times stronger. It is. And from a man's perspective, if you're a guy listening to this, consider what it might be like to have a life mission that's separate from your family mission. Now, when your mission is really strong, your why becomes really strong, right? So, why do you want to lose weight? And we speak about this quite a bit, but typically initial answers are, I want to look better, I want to feel better. Great. Why do you want to look better and why do you want to feel better? Well, I want to look better and feel better because then I can fit into my clothes and then I would have a better dating life. Great. Why do you want to fit better into your clothes and have a better dating life? And I would have, less medical issues. Why do you want to have less medical issues? Continue asking yourself why 10 levels deep. I want to have less medical issues so I can live longer. Great. Why do you want to live longer? And what you'll find is that through asking yourself why again and again and again, you'll actually get to your life mission at the end of the day. So when your life mission is really clear, your why becomes really clear. So when you start thinking or somebody asks you, why do you want to lose weight? You don't go through this whole I don't know, let me, look better, feel better. You go straight, your answer is to fulfill my life mission. So people, why do you want to lose weight? I want to lose weight to fulfill my life mission. Great. What's your life mission? To conquer generational addiction, divorce, and poverty. Holy shit. Wow. What's your life mission? To help people wake up through weight loss, come to terms with who they are, and feel better in their own bodies. Holy shit. Like that. How could I say that and then go eat a bag of Doritos? How could you say that and then not prioritize your health? Right? Because when you're not prioritizing your health, you're actually quitting on your life mission. And when you're really clear on your mission, it just it's not even a question. So much of the reason why food noise goes away when I work with my clients is because they're really clear on what they want for their life. Like if you're not, it just doesn't really matter what plan you do because it's never going to be enough. Getting out of bed in the morning to go on a 15-minute walk because you want to look better and feel better and fit into your clothes is not going to be enough. Getting out of bed in the morning to go on a 15-minute walk and then eating a healthy breakfast, you're not going to be able to do that just because you want to be a better parent. Do you know what else is going to make you feel like a better parent? Taking your kids to Disneyland. It has to be something where it requires you. You can be a good parent without losing weight, right? You can't know what it feels like to be a healthy, energetic parent that leads by example for their kids through prioritizing their health without losing weight. Feel how much stronger that is, right? That's a requirement. Make it so that whatever your life mission is, it is a requirement for you to take care of yourself and to prioritize your health. That way you're doing both at the same time. We're addressing the mind and the body and the soul and the spirit all at the same time, the mind and the body. We're not here to just work on our mind or just work on our body. They're the same fucking thing. If you don't do both at the same time, and if you can't adopt that viewpoint, you won't keep the weight off. And you'll always have this battle of the mind versus the body. Well, it's my mind wants this, but my body wants this. No, there's no war anymore. The way to put the end to the war is to find peace and love both of them and recognize that they're actually on the same team. It's not mind versus body. It's mind and body together. They want the same thing. You might be misinterpreting the messages, but they want the same thing. So let's say that you don't have a life mission or you're not clear on your why. Here's what you can do. Ask yourself, when you were at the lowest point in your life, for a lot of you, it's right now, right? For me, it was 2019 was really my rock bottom. But when you were at your rock bottom, maybe you haven't hit a rock bottom, let's just say the lowest point. Who did you need in your life? And write that down on a piece of paper. What did you need someone to say to you? What would you say to yourself if you could go back right now? Who did you need to be a role model? What kind of role model did you need? Write that down on a piece of paper and become that person at all costs. Your life mission is to become that person at all costs. So who I needed was someone to say, find some balance, some common sense, and come back to simplicity with food. But nobody did. It was all carnivore, keto, intermittent fasting, count all your calories, over-exercise, over-restrict yourself with food. Never actually addressed the root of the issue or my habits. What I needed was someone to talk about sustainable lifestyle changes instead of dieting. But nobody did. What I needed was somebody to build a system that actually fucking worked, that didn't suck, that helped you learn how to make those sustainable lifestyle changes. But nobody did. And it still kind of seems like nobody is, which is fucking crazy. So I've become that person because it's what I needed and I couldn't find it. I still can't. So I just became the person. And that is my life mission, right? It's how I identified my life mission, was by figuring out what I needed and then being it for myself. Another thing you can do is you can lock yourself in a room for 30 minutes with no phone. And I know that just sounds fucking like, what kind of self-help bullshit is that? This will change your entire life. You're 25 minutes into this podcast right now. The idea of going and sitting in silence for 30 minutes with no phone sounds crazy. Most people have never done it. Most people have never actually sat for 30 minutes alone in a room with nothing. Bring a pen, bring a paper, and visualize. Close your eyes. Take one really big breath. Let it be cheesy. And visualize yourself at 100 years old on your deathbed. And that can be hard to do when you're fat as fuck, the way that I was, because the idea of living to 100 isn't even fathomable when you're obese or even overweight, right? So that was hard for me to imagine. I thought I was going to die when I was 25. So, but now that I'm healthy, I feel that I will live to be over 100, and you deserve to feel that too. Do your best to visualize yourself as old as you can be on your deathbed. If 70 or 80 feels better to you, or in some cases 55 or 60, then that's okay as well. But on your deathbed, what story do you want to tell? Like when someone says, tell me the story of your life, right? Someone's sitting there, they're doing a documentary on you, you're on your deathbed. What do you want the world to see about your life? So the reason why Forrest Gump is the best movie of all time, I have a tattoo of a guy on a bench on my arm, built into my tattoo sleeve, is because it's a story about a guy telling stories, right? So if you've never seen Forrest Gump is sitting on a bench just telling stories to strangers. That's the whole movie. And no one believes any of the stories that he shares because they're all crazy. He became a shrimping billionaire, Medal of Honor winner, world champion, ping pong player, college athlete of the year. Like, just like every single thing. It's ridiculous, right? Accomplishing one of those things is improbable. All of them is like, what the fuck? He did all of them and nobody believed him. And he knew deep down that they all happened. So he was content with that. This sort of exercise, this is why I got this tattoo, is because I desire to be in a position, and I choose right now to put myself in a position, so this is my truth on my deathbed, where I'm telling stories to people that they don't believe at first when they hear them because they sound so fucking crazy. But I know deep down that they all happened and that they're true. That's a crazy life mission, right? Those sorts of thoughts will really help you get to why it is that you're here, and to create a strong why. Not just why to lose weight, but why are you on this planet? 30 minutes in a room with no phone sounds ridiculous. Realistically, 1 out of 1,000 people that listen to this podcast will probably do it. And for my whole life, I was one of the 999 that wouldn't. But I promise you get to consciously choose whether or not you would like to be the kind of person that does the work to keep the weight off. And this is what the work is. 30 minutes is not a long time. This podcast has been going for 30 minutes. You know, it's the idea of sitting with yourself that can be so difficult, because you're going to start seeing things that you don't like about yourself that we typically use food to hide from, or Netflix, or scrolling on Instagram to hide from, or even listening to this podcast, right? To hide from. And when you sit in silence, you expose yourself. Bring a pen and a paper and just write down whatever comes to you. Write down what you want the story to be. Just set a 30-minute timer. You can even turn some meditative music on. Let it be cheesy. Let it be weird. Light a fucking candle. Light some incense. Sage yourself. And use some Palo Santo. You know, do some hippie shit. Whatever it takes for you to be able to get into a state where you can actually reflect on your life and what you want moving forward. The idea that you're going to be spending a bunch of time go into this crazy fucking ultra restrictive diet, the same shit you did in the past, the same shit I did for years, but never even sit down for 30 minutes and figure out why the fuck you're doing it, is ludicrous. And I wish someone told me that. So by me saying this out loud, I am fulfilling my life mission and becoming the person that I couldn't find before. Someone literally telling me, like, this is the level of mindfulness and connection to self and connection to why and to life mission that you need. Because if your why is not strong enough, if your life mission is not strong enough, there's nothing doesn't matter what you eat, right? When you take this mindset work that we're talking about in this episode and you pair it with a healthy fucking diet, and I use that word very loosely because it's not a diet, the common sense framework, the common sense diet, the common sense system, and you practice eating healthier foods, and you work on mindfulness and your why and get really fucking clear on what you need to improve in your own life, that's when you actually keep the weight off. If you don't address those things, there's nothing. I tried it all. It would be easier for me to come on here and be like, eat low carb. Eat low carb, guys, 51 episodes in. All you got to do is eat less carbs. And no fucking shit, man. If it was that easy, nobody would be fat. If any fucking diet alone worked, nobody would be fat. Nothing's going to work unless you do it forever. So if you take away anything from 51 episodes of this podcast, it's that find something that you can do for the rest of your life. For me, it was the common sense diet. Been doing it for 6 years because it's non-obsessive, doesn't suck. Maybe it's something else for you. But figure that out and write it the fuck down. And then work on your mindset, your why, and your life mission. Get clear on those things. You will lose weight. You will keep the weight off. If you'd like to work with me to make it happen, click the link in the description of this podcast episode. If you made it to the end of the episode, you absolutely have what it takes to lose weight. You absolutely have what it takes to keep the weight off forever. And you absolutely have the ability to do that. It is possible to do that in a way that doesn't suck, in a way that doesn't take a lot of discipline over the course of time. It's going to take you discipline up front, the same way that it has in the past when you've lost weight and gained it back or tried to lose weight. The difference is that when you put the discipline into something that's actually sustainable, you change your baseline habits and they become automatic. You deserve to feel that, and you can. If you made it to the end of the episode again, please leave us a rating, anywhere from 1 to 5 stars, any honest review on Apple or Spotify or Podbean, or any platform that you're listening to this podcast on. It really helps me get this message out to other people that benefit and that really need to hear it. Next week, we have our episode 52, which is our 1 year anniversary of the Drop It podcast. And that's crazy to say. I have a special episode for y'all where I'll be going through my story. The first episode of this podcast was me sharing how I lost weight. I'm going to be retelling that story, and also adding on everything that's happened in the last year because it's so relevant. And I'm really excited for you guys to hear it. I'm excited to record it for you. See you next week.